Us live. So good morning, everybody. Good morning if you're dialing in across Europe, and of course, good afternoon to our customers and partners dialed in from round APJ. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sally Poff, and thank you very much for taking time out of your day to join us for this webinar. We're looking forward to showing you the power of purchase automation. So Connor is here with me also. He's going to do a demo of the application and show you the process from start to finish so you can see it in action. We have a mix of attendees here today. Some of you use SAP and Enterprise together and some who just use Enterprise only, and it works the same in both environments. So the session is going to be twofold this morning. We're looking forward to taking you through the whole Enterprise purchase automation tool to show you how you can streamline the purchasing using automated scanning and matching. And for those of you who are already using it, we want to show you some of the new functionality that came out in our latest release, because you gave us some really, really good feedback and we incorporated it in. So just firstly, what is purchase automation? So at a base level, it's using software to digitize your purchase order process to reduce the manual steps that you're possibly going through now. The main reason people are looking for an alternative is because it saves them time and improves accuracy. And how does it work? Well, Enterprise Purchase Automation enables you to scan your purchase invoices directly into Enterprise. Then it creates a pending invoice and matches it to an open purchase order or delivery, which you can then approve, reject, or edit in the application to complete your purchase cycle. And it does this using OCR, which I'm sure you know is optical character recognition, to dissect the data that comes in on your invoices. And through machine learning, it picks up on patterns and algorithms from that scanned data in, for example, your items and your supplier information, and it teaches itself to make predictions or matches based on what it learns. So therefore, the more you use it, the more it recognizes and the better it gets. So it improves that accuracy and that matching every time you use it. A point to note here actually is that there is a process around this. It won't automatically post your invoices. So a user will always have to improve a posting into your system. It still gives you that control. From a setup point of view, it's minimal because it's already available in your Enterprise side menu. It's just a case of your administrator in your business providing access via the user settings, and it's charged on a per scan basis. So you can have a chat with your account manager around that. Now I'm going to let Connor show you how it works in real time. Actually, before I do, just a bit of housekeeping. It's not going to be a long session, so we'll have plenty of time for a Q&A afterwards. So if you have a question, you can either type it in the Q&A box on the Teams chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you so you can ask it, or you can reach out to your account manager at a time suitable to you and we'll look after them then. So over to you now, Connor.
Thank you, Sally. Okay, my name's Connor.
Connor, we can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Nope.
You should be able to. Yeah, so Shane can hear me. Yes, they can hear me. Sorry about that technical glitch. Sorry, yes, my name's Connor McCann, and I'm going to run you through a demonstration of some invoice scanning scenarios. Not an exhaustive one because everyone's can be slightly different. I'm just going to share my screen now. And you should be able to see the Enterprise system. Okay, so my screen should be sharing now. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Enterprise, this is the Enterprise home screen. We're going to look just at the purchasing side. So the typical scenario is in the purchasing process is you create a purchase order. That purchase order, when the stock is received, is copied into a goods receipt note. Okay, and then the next step in the process is that your supplier will send you the invoice, typically in PDF format. So there's a couple of things to note on that. Obviously you don't want everyone to be able to send invoices into your system. So you can whitelist who is allowed to send invoices into the Enterpryze system. So there's an element of security there. And as Sally mentioned, the scanned invoices aren't automatically posted. You ultimately have the choice as to whether you post or not. So I'll get straight into it. I want to look at showing you how you get those invoices into Enterpryze. So here we can see I've got a filter, so I can only see one invoice at the moment, but I'm going to send some invoices into the system. And typically, again, that's the process for your purchasing department. Purchasing guys will receive the invoices from your suppliers, usually in PDF format, and those can be sent directly into Enterpryze. So here I've got two invoices. I just click on one and I will forward this email directly to a special email address that we will give you that is linked to your Enterpryze database. So here, this is how easy it is. I just click send. And then I want to send this one also. And I will forward this one into the same email address and send. So as I said, you can authorize certain people within Enterpryze to be allowed to send those scanned images into the system. And if I just click back to orders and let the system refresh, go to my invoice automation. Okay, so you see there within a few seconds that we've got two additional scanned documents. Okay, so I suppose just to examine this screen, this is a summary screen that will show you all scanned images that are in the system that haven't been posted through to invoice. So if it's just open, it will just show you all of those that haven't been posted. If you show all, it will show all images that have been posted in through the system, whether they've been accepted or rejected. So you can see all of that from this screen. See, it has picked up the supplier. It has picked up information like the invoice date. It has picked up the total values and reference numbers. And then here we have automation status. So our OCR system has evaluated each of these invoices and is notifying us if actions are required. So a notice, if you see here, a notice is saying that, well, actually the majority of the information is correct. The totals are correct, but it just, so I can actually approve this now. But, you know, a notice is, it's just, I need to maybe check this and see what the notice is. It's probably a duplicate reference, something really simple that you can probably proceed and approve it. An action, however, means that something hasn't been matched, or there's a bit of information that's slightly out of the ordinary, and it's suggesting you go in and edit that. And then we have one down here that I imported earlier that also has notices. You notice here we also have a column here, queried. So this is a user or a custom field that we've created and attached to give the processor a little bit more information. So if I just drill into this invoice here, where I can actually approve it. So because there are no actions required, I can approve it, I can reject it, or I can edit it. So best practice is you will always check them anyway. You'll always edit them. And if we look at the screen, the main screen here. So this is the contents of what the system have scanned. So the main one here is if we look at the preview original document. So if I click preview original document, and this is actually a copy of the scanned image. So I just had to turn it around a little bit. So here's a copy of the scanned image. This is saved in Enterpryze. And once the invoice is processed, that image will be attached to the invoice in Enterprise. For those of you who also have SAP Business One, the attachment will also be available in your purchase invoice in SAP Business One. Okay, so what else does it picked up? So it has picked up the supplier. We see it was Kilsaran Concrete. It has picked up a reference number. So it looks at all of this information on the screen, captures it, and puts it on to the fields that we think it should be placed on in the system, in the invoice. So it's also telling me we have a duplicate reference. So that reference has been used before. So that can be a part of your process, and there's a pricing discrepancy. Here's where we can have our custom fields. So I can say if this is all up, if it's queried or if it's approved for purchase, you can set these lists. We've also got additional fields that you can add. You can add up to 100 fields with your own additional information. So that's the header of what has been captured. And if I scroll down now, we can see the line items. Okay, so our system, our Enterprise has read the PDF, and it has found a purchase order that with these items. It has then found a purchase delivery with these items, and we can see that everything is matched here on the purchase invoice. We also have the totals have been matched. There is a pricing discrepancy of a cent based against the original scanned image, but that's usually okay. It's just potentially a rounding error between the different systems. So the scan has picked up all of these items and has matched them against a purchase delivery. This is or invoice can be approved and posted into the system. What happens in Enterprise is that the purchase delivery is also closed when this invoice is processed. Okay, so for me to process this, it's just a matter of clicking the approve button. Okay, so here we see machine learning. The reference has been saved for future invoicing. So again, it has learned that reference and it will pick that up if another duplicate reference has come in. The invoice has been created, invoice 288. And if I click on view invoice, here's the purchase invoice now in Enterprise with all of the line detail. And as I said, the attached image. So if I just close the original I opened, here's the actual image that is stored with the invoice. Okay, so in essence, that's one of the main type of a scan where you scan an invoice that has products that the system matches. For a purchase order has been copied to a goods receipt, and the goods receipt has now been copied into an invoice. Okay. So I think Sally said we can take questions at the end of the session as well if you want to ask any questions about this process. So that's a completed process for one invoice. I just want to go into the next one. So I go back to my invoice automation screen, and you see that the invoice I just worked on has now gone off the screen. It has been completed. So the next one I'm going to look at is this one here, the Omni Sales one. It's saying that there's 2 notices and there's 2 actions. So if I drill in here to edit this, again, I can see it's telling me what actions I need to do, and it's also telling me these notices. Typically, the process would be I would go straight in and preview the document just so that I can see the document and compare it if I need to. So it's from Worldwide Company. Its invoice reference is 277. So here we can see that it has picked up. Sorry, the invoice is to Omni Sales. I can pick it up here, and it picks up the Omni Sales customer, or sorry, supplier record. So here it's telling me it's missing a tax code, and it's also duplicate reference. So what I can do here is I can actually select, see if there's any related documents, or I can actually just go in here now and I can edit the tax code and enter the tax code for the transaction. If I look at the original, I can see that there isn't any tax on it. So again, the scenarios can be slightly different. You can have tax, and it hasn't picked up the tax on this particular item. It's expecting tax, but I will now have to edit this to allow it to process through. So I just pick up the item and I'll just choose the exempt tax on this one, just to get it to process through. And I'll just click OK. And I'll do the same with the second line. So there will be times when you do have to input or to make slight changes to the system, but those changes are then saved, and the system will learn. Sorry, excuse me. Will learn how to what you've recorded against those the scanned images. So I've made a change there. If I save this, save will update the document and it will refresh the results of the scan. So it's now saying that there are no actions. So I've done what I needed to do. There's no related documents in this case. So that means it's I don't have a PO or a goods receipt or a goods receipt, but your process is that you just post through based on the invoices. So I can now approve this, and again I will approve. Okay, so the batch item on that. So I can also select batch numbers if needs be. Okay, so that's the process there. Is I would just approve that and it will post through into the system. Okay, so there's where we had to change some items, edit the items, and save them into the system. Okay, so that allowed me to edit an actual document. The next one here, if I just drill in here, we've got notice here. If I click on this invoice here. So again, we've got a different type of invoice. We can see here that this is a service invoice. So this is for services rather than for stock. And again, if I preview the document. So we don't have any stock lines, but it is a purchase invoice from one of our service providers. And again, it has the usual data that's in on the system. Okay, so it has picked up the reference number and it has picked up the service and the line items. Here it's telling me that everything is fine. It has matched to a purchase order line. So you can also have service, you can create a purchase order and match them to the invoice. But there's a couple of other things that you can do here. If I go in and I'll show you this cost centers. So for service invoices, it has automatically applied cost center information and project information if you wish. And how does it do that? Well, what we've done is against the supplier, we can record information or default information that will be allocated to scanned invoices. So if I go into my companies and select my supplier, PwC, so I choose the supplier, and I can see in my invoice automation, I can do a couple of things. If I edit the supplier, if I say ignore the invoice line detail and just use a particular service item for this supplier. So what that will do is it will read the total on the supplier invoice, but it will always post to this professional services account, regardless of the contents of the purchase invoice. Or I can say, if I can ignore that, it will scan line by line. So again, it depends on your scenario. Also in here in the finance and taxes section, this is where I can select a default project code. I can then also apply default cost centers to scan documents for this supplier. Okay, so that's a really useful tool if you always want to allocate purchase invoices to a cost center or to a particular project. You can, however, change, even with those defaults, you can change the project code and the cost centers by line item if you wish. And that's just by going into edit and say click on the cost centers, allow you to change them here before you save. And again, edit the line where you can change the actual posting account if you wish. Okay, so again, this invoice has been scanned. It has used a default or it has matched to a related purchase order, and that can now be approved because, again, there's no actions required. So again, we see additional machine learning. References have been saved for future invoicing, and we can view that invoice. So that opens up the invoice with the correct values. And again, we can see, if I close the agent, we can see the actual invoice at all times. So it's always retrievable, it's always stored against that purchase invoice. So there's no more need to keep boxes of files anywhere. It's retrievable when you view that invoice. Okay, so there's a lot, there's a lot of scenarios that we won't cover here, obviously. And so what we do is we would scan images for you and look at your invoices. There's between a 70 and 80% success rate on the scanned images, and that's typical for these systems. That's usually the success rate. But as we said, with machine learning that occurs, there's the system is constantly learning and attaching information and linking information from one system to another. Okay, so there is one more that I want to show you, and what I want to do is, I've showed you earlier how to, how you email the scanned images to a special account. You can also upload. So if I'm in purchase invoice automation and I click upload, here's where I can drag and drop files, or I can just select a file. And the one I want to pick here is this invoice, the Samsung fridge. And I just click open and upload. So again, that's another way of uploading your supplier invoices. It has created the pending invoice, and we see here that there's notice and there's actions required here. So if I go in and I view this invoice, okay, so it has scanned the line, but it hasn't actually found an item code. And there's probably a couple of reasons for that. We've sent a PO to our supplier with our product code, but they may have a different product code for their item. So for example, their code is just FRI 001, but I know that that's not our code for this fridge. And again, this is where machine learning comes in. What I can do is I go in and I can edit that line. And it hasn't, as I said, it hasn't found a matching ID. So, but I know we've got a Samsung fridge. Freestanding fridge. So that's our product. And I can then choose the VAT group that would typically be applied to this type of a transaction. And I can again add it to cost centers, and I just click OK. Okay, so we see now that we actually have our fridge instead of the supplier's code for the fridge. And if I click save, okay, so the document has been updated. I can now post that invoice if everything is matched, if I don't have any blockages or actions required. And if I click approve, okay, again, machine learning has occurred. And what that also has done is that has matched the supplier's code for that fridge with our code for that fridge. So the next time we scan a document from that supplier, it should pick up our fridge code. And that's typically the type of machine learning that occurs in the system. Okay. I can also, if I pick up an item, if I edit a supplier invoice, and again, if it hasn't found any one particular line, I can add lines in the normal way using just the typical way of adding a particular line within from Enterprise. So, okay, it may not have scanned all the lines. I can then find the one that it needs to add, and I just add it in here. There's a couple of really useful ones as well. If there's an invoice that has lots of text on it and lots of scanned lines, I can actually, and this is a new feature, I can just select those blank lines and remove those blank lines. Another new feature and really useful is, again, as I said, the success rate is between 70 and 80%. And if something hasn't been picked up, you discuss that with us, and we can revise what it's doing or what it's picking up. But if you want to actually see what we're reading, you could actually hold down the Shift key and click the Preview Original Document, and that tells you exactly what we're reading. And again, it's just and it places it in sort of in readable information for you. So this will help you and us understand what is being scanned. And if there's something not being scanned correctly, you can report that to us, and we perhaps can adjust the scan to take into account the particular reason why your one isn't scanning. And again, that's how the system is improving constantly by the machine learning and by us working with you to make scanning more accurate. Eventually, as I said, it gets more accurate as you use it, and as we work with additional customers, the system is ever increasing in functionality. So there are a couple of the new ones. The Shift Preview will show you the data. Remove blank lines. Also, another one is if it doesn't scan, if the system can't scan a whole lot, or if you just want to accept the information that's on a particular document, you can scan the header level invoice and attach the file. You can also then copy from, and that will show you any open documents that are in the system. And you can then just select them and add those lines. So what it will do is you can ignore totally what's on the scanned image and copy entirely from a goods receipt PO, say, for example. The totals will still be compared, but it just means some of those that are unreadable sometimes, because there are some supplier documents that are unreadable, but you can still scan them, and we can match the totals usually, and then you just copy from your goods receipt PO or from your purchase order. And again, that will allow you to save the scanned image with the invoice. So there are two of the more recent updates. And as we said, the system gets regular updates to improve its accuracy and to improve its functionality. So, Sally, I think I've covered a lot there. As I said, it's not an exhaustive list of how you scan or of items that are scanned, but it's the typical ones. It's the stock invoice, it's the service invoice. It allows you to store defaults against suppliers. So, most scenarios then can be handled in the standard enterprise scanning side of things.
Okay, so, thanks, Connor. Hope you enjoyed that, folks. Just around what Connor's saying there, some of the feedback we've had on our customers who are already utilising this product is around how the purchase process has become quicker and more accurate for those who are using it. Yet they're still, and probably better so, maintaining a great relationship with their suppliers. So guys, Q&A time now. If you have your questions ready, pop them into the Q&A box if you'd like, and I'll read them out to Connor, or raise your hand and Jane can unmute you. Or if you'd prefer to reach out to your account manager, they'd be delighted to hear from you. And of course, you can always contact us on info@enterpryze.com and we'll get someone straight onto them. So let me have a look. Oh, I think we've someone on chat here. Connor, if you can hear me, I think you can.
Yes.
Ian is wondering, how does this cope if the invoice covers more than one delivery or partial deliveries are received?
Yes, it will handle that. It will only search for one purchase order reference though, and it will find as much as it can with that purchase order reference. The copy from then can be used for additional deliveries and allow you to add lines using copy from onto the purchase invoice. So yes, it will read one PO and find what is on that PO and just show the lines that it has scanned, but it will allow you to add lines using the copy from additional deliveries. And it will close those lines on the deliveries when you post the invoice.
Okay, hopefully that answers that there. One in from Ben here, Connor, can you upload multiple invoices from different suppliers at the same time?
Yes, if they are separate PDFs. Yes, you can have 10 PDFs on one invoice, and we can send that invoice or send that email. We send that to Enterprise, and it will scan those documents individually. Sorry, Sally, I can't hear you.
That's because I was on mute. Sorry, Connor. Natalie was wondering if the automation picks up from the product code. Did she get that correctly?
Yes, it does. It picks up from the product code, and it saves that product. Once it has a match, it will save that against that supplier. And as I said, that's what I showed there at the end. I actually mapped the supplier's item code to our item code. If they're the same, the line will show automatically, but I had to map that one. The next time that invoice comes in, it should pick our product code that relates to their product code.
Okay, hopefully that answers that for you, Natalie. Just Shane, yes, we will be sharing the recording afterwards. Jane will send it out to all the attendees that that were on this. Please share amongst your teams. And I'm not seeing any more questions here, but look, as I mentioned, please feel free to reach out to your account managers, pop an email to us at info@enterpryze.com. Oh, hang on. Spoke too soon. Junaid, can you post purchase invoices straight from PO without a purchase delivery?
Yes. It will match.
I love it when it's a simple answer.
Yeah, it will match the PO if there is no purchase delivery. Correct.
Excellent. And I don't know whether you can see them there, but
I can see them
another
there, yeah.
couple here. Okay, let me read them out so you get them one at a time. Can you add a delivery line if not included on the PO?
You can add a line onto the invoice. You can add an additional line to the invoice if it's not on the original PO. Yes.
Okay, Natalie, I hope that answers that for you there. Now, Richard is wondering, is it possible to edit the PO on the invoice automation tab?
No, but I think that's a similar question. You can't edit the PO, but you can add a line that's not on the PO. You can add that to the invoice.
Okay, and when posting the AP invoice, will it read the sales invoice posting date so that they're posted to the same date?
I would have to get back on that one.
Okay, Richard, Jane,
yeah.
Jane, if you take a note of that one for Richard there, and we'll get Connor to do some homework when he's finished this and get that answer for you, Richard. Okay, is there anybody else? Ah, there you go. So what happens if the invoice has no PO, Connor?
That's fine. Again, it will be scanned. It doesn't match against any previous transaction, but it will display exactly the scanned image. It doesn't have to have a matching PO or delivery. It won't automatically post though. It will still ask you to approve it. So yes, you can have an invoice that has no matching PO.
Okay, well, hopefully that has answered that question for you. Pavel is wondering, can you cancel AP invoices in B1? So if you're using SAP B1, can you cancel AP invoices in B1 from Enterprise?
Yes, as based on my knowledge of B1, you can if it doesn't matter where the invoice is generated, if you've got permissions to cancel invoices in B1, it will cancel it in Enterprise as well.
Okay, and Natalie was just wondering if it worked the same on SAP Business One, and it does, Natalie. It's the same product. It runs through Enterprise and into your SAP B1 application.
In SAP B1, it will store the scanned image against the invoice in B1. So you can't do this. You can't do the AP invoice scanning in B1. That has to be done in Enterprise. But the contents of the Enterprise scan will be attached to the purchase invoice in SAP B1. Ian has asked another one there. If there are multiple attachments on an email, invoice and delivery dockets, will it be able to extract the invoice? I think it will, Ian. Again, that's something that I will have to test.
Okay, we'll take a note of that one, Ian, just to come back and confirm that for you.
Lots of questions here.
That's good, great.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You can see that one there, Connor. Will approved invoices in Enterprise go to the approval status report in SAP B1?
No, it's a separate approval process. They're in pending mode in Enterprise only, and they will just appear in SAP B1 once they're approved, once they're posted. It's not in the approval status report in B1.
Okay, and one here, does it matter if some invoices aren't in PDF format?
I have scanned some different file formats. I don't know. I don't have a list of every format that it will scan, but I find that PDFs are the most accurate to scan. But I have scanned other file formats like PNG or TIFF, but PDF is what we recommend.
Okay, and can you have invoice approval hierarchies? And can it be done outside of Enterprise via email?
There's a hierarchy at the purchase order stage, and we are building additional approval procedures around the purchase invoice approving process. Again, that's we try and make this as generic as possible so that everyone can use it. So not everyone has that requirement, but we are looking into adding additional approvals levels at purchase invoice approval stage. So theoretically, when someone approves it, and typically it would post, we look like we're going to add an additional step there for final approval, something like that.
Yeah, so watch this space, Jonathan, or maybe we'll get someone to get in touch with you to get your advice on what you think might be a good way to go. Silence at the moment, Connor. There, that may have been your last one.
Phew, that was a grilling.
Yeah, that was a grilling. But guys, as I mentioned, you know who we are, you know where we are. And just in case you don't, our info@enterpryze.com is always manned. Myself, Jane and Morgan are always on that one there, because we get some really good questions and queries into it. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Actually went on for a little bit longer than I expected. We will send the recording to all of you who took time out of your day to attend. We really appreciate it. And we are here for any questions that might come to mind as soon as we all leave this webinar. So just feel free to send them our way. And again, thank you so much. And we will speak to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Pavel. Nice one.
Thank you.
Bye, folks.